Hey everyone, CW5 Dirty here with the 160th Soar. Today I'm going to do a quick tutorial video on how to set up your controls in Arma to fly like the best. If you're tired of flying mouse and keyboard and you want to try the more authentic experience with joystick and throttle, this is how you will set it up. Alright, so we're going to cover controls. First thing you want to do is open up your escape, and I'm mainly going to be covering controls on the helicopters. So hit controls in your configure menu right there. Then you hit controls, open it up, go down to your helicopter movement like that. Boom, there you go. So you get your cyclic, which would be your stick. So that controls your pitch and your roll. Then you have your pedals, which would be your rudder. That'll control you turning right or turning left. And then we got your collective, which is essentially, I guess the way to think about it is like a throttle. Totally different concept than a helicopter, but you'll kind of get my drift as we go. But you're going to want to set up, first you want to set up your cyclic forward. Arma makes it fairly easy. Okay, I'm just going to redo this. So cyclic forward, which would be nose down, push your stick forward, automatically sets. Same thing for backward. Pull your stick back. That brings nose up. There. And all you gotta do is you pull your stick while you're in this menu, and it'll set it. And pretty much same thing for the left, which would be your roll. So you'll roll to the left, cyclic right, roll to the right. If you have any of these keys bound to, usually I think it's shift, I want to say shift and control, I would delete those, because if you're flying around and you open your map and you're setting a waypoint or something, it'll change your collective while you're in the map if you're flying advanced. Which hopefully everybody does because it's just better. But anyway, so delete those. Okay, now you got your pedals, which would be if you have a twist stick, which most people probably will. So if you have something like Logitech Extreme 3D Pro or any other stick that's designed to run without pedals like X56 like I have, then this is where you'd set up your twist stick. So pedal left would be taking your twist stick and twisting it to the left or counterclockwise. Same thing for the right. Grab your stick, rotate it to the right or clockwise, and then that'll set that. Make sure you clear out all your left turn and right turn. You do not use those. Auto hover is going to be a button of your choice. It doesn't really matter where, just make it somewhere that's handy or accessible. And with most of the controls, it's literally a toggle on off type control, so you can use the same button for like auto hover off. Gear down, there is some helicopter models that do have raise and lower of the gear depending on what model you use. I have mine set just in case, but we usually don't. We usually fly, most of our helicopters are fixed gear. So you got your collective. This is the tricky part. This is the part that everybody has a hard time with. And I'm figured this is the part where I really want to explain it. So your collective would be your throttle. In Arma anyway, it would be your throttle. So while you're in this menu, before you even get here or anything, make sure all your controls are set to neutral and all the way down. So your throttle all the way to 0. So what you do is, when you're right here, you just take your throttle and make sure it's analog. Not your collective raise, but your collective raise analog. That's the most important part. You take your throttle and you push it all the way forward, and then your axis will be assigned. Same thing here. Collective lower would be after it's all the way forward, pull your throttle all the way back. And then that will set your full range of collective. Now, wheel brakes, if you fly advanced, you'll be able to taxi, do better roll-on landings, stuff like that. And I'll do a demo video later on of the differences between advanced and standard flight. And most people I've convinced to start flying standard flight. Once they get used to it, they actually love it, and they actually think it's better. So you'll want to set that control to somewhere that's handy. Otherwise, as you can see, it says right control W. If you want to just use the keyboard, but I have a button assigned to my stick. So manual trim, I wouldn't worry about any of that. I don't really use it much, but this is where you can set it up if you want it in different spots. So you could set it up on your hat switches on your joystick if that's what you'd like to use. And let's see, what else do we got to cover here? Rope interactions. We use advanced stuff, so it doesn't work the same, but you can just leave those be if you use the vanilla rope system. And that's pretty much the basics for controlling the flight of everything else like that. So we're going to hit OK. That'll save it all. Now, you want to go, if I remember right, where's it at? Weapons. So this is where you set up your buttons for selecting weapons, stuff like that. Like here I have my hat switches set up for previous and next weapon. I got the main fire button right here. Make sure you don't delete that, because this is also for your for use on the ground. See, I think countermeasures right there. You'll want those set up in on your joystick, so that way if you're flying and you take fire, you can just hit a button to deploy your countermeasures, save you from getting a missile up your ass. But this is pretty much where you'd set up your firing and stuff like that. That's going to be at your own discretion as to how you want that set up. It's always a personal preference, but there's that. So, first, one thing I forgot to mention at the beginning is make sure you're in here in the customizable controls and make sure that they are all enabled or active. If you don't have these active in your controls, which you don't need track IR, that's a totally separate thing. If you have track IR, you know the greatness of it. But so you just click the joystick, make sure it's enabled. Once it's enabled, you'll be able to set up your controls. I know I probably should have mentioned that at the beginning of the video, but I mentioned it now. But that is pretty much the basics of setting up your flight stick and everything else like that. I'll be doing a video later on the differences between simple or the standard flight and then the advanced flight. When you fly advanced flight, I will say this though, leave your gauges on until you get used to it. Some helicopters don't have all the gauges on the dash, so you'll still want to use your gauges. That's kind of at your own prerogative. So there you go. Thank you much for watching.